Are the Panthers making a mistake with their running back rotation? There's been much consternation about how the Panthers will utilize Chuba Hubbard and Rico Dowdle now that Chuba is back. And after one game, people are concerned. I'll answer that question among other listener questions on this weekly Wednesday mailbag edition of Locked On Panthers.
You are Locked On Panthers, your daily Carolina Panthers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into another edition of the Locked On Panthers podcast, a part of the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, as always, Julian Council, talking Carolina Panthers with you every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and yes, of course, Friday, your team every day. Thanks for watching the show right here on YouTube and listening wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Today's episode of Locked On Panthers is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. We are once again back here on a Wednesday, like we are throughout every single week of the regular season, where I am answering your weekly Wednesday mailbag questions. All you got to do after the game on Sunday against Buffalo is either at me or DM me over on Twitter or on Blue Sky at Julian Council and send in your questions. Then next week, I may answer your question here on the weekly Wednesday mailbag right here on Locked On Panthers. And let's go ahead and start off the show by addressing a concern that a lot of people in Panthers Nation have coming out of the 13-6 win against the Jets. And it's not necessarily the overall performance of the offense, but the overall situation there in the Panthers backfield, in particular, looking at the two running backs, Chuba Hubbard and Rico Dowdle. As we know, Rico was awesome those 2 weeks against Miami and against Dallas. He set a franchise record in a single game for the most yards from scrimmage of 239 in that win against Dallas. He had told him a week prior to buckle up, and they wasn't buckled. He went out there and had an awesome performance. And after that, a lot of people were wondering, okay, well, you got a good thing going on here. Rico's running really hard. It's not like Chuba in the games that he had played earlier in the season looked all that great. Are the Panthers really going to go potentially split carries between Chuba and Rico? And, well, the answer obviously was yes, as we saw on Sunday with Rico getting 18 touches and Chuba getting 16. And certainly Rico was far more productive in that game. But remember, Chuba was coming back after missing 2 games with a calf injury. And, oh, yeah, by the way, last November, they signed him to a 4-year, $33 million deal that could go up to $37 million. So he was always going to be a part of the offense once he came back from that injury. But even still, there's a lot of people out there who are concerned about how the Panthers are going to utilize them moving forward. Dave Canales, Panthers head coach, on Monday did say that he's not expecting to change anything. He wanted to remind everyone, including me and you, all of us, that guys, Chuba missed 2 games. He came back. Relax. So we'll see against Buffalo moving forward how it plays out. But let's get into it. Penn, he was sitting there on Monday Night Football, or watching Monday Night Football, watching Detroit, watching Tampa, and he mentioned how wildly successful the running back duo up there in Detroit is when looking at David Montgomery and looking at Jahmyr Gibbs, and how they bring 2 different things. Montgomery's a bruiser, while Gibbs is faster and shiftier, and it reminded him of what Carolina used to have in D'Angelo Williams and Jonathan Stewart, 2 guys who were different, smash and dash, but also were able to complement each other, much like Montgomery and much like Gibbs. So Penn says to me, can you tell me what Chuba does better than Rico? Maybe that would make me feel better about this current arrangement. All right, let me try to make you and everyone else feel better about the current arrangement that they have here in Carolina, Penn. Looking at the stats right now, rushing stats total in the NFL through 7 weeks. Rico Dowdle is currently third in rushing with 551 yards. Meanwhile, Chuba Hubbard is 35th. He's missed 2 games, but 35th with 248 yards rushing. The only other running back tandem in the top 35 is, well, you guessed it, Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery up there in Detroit, with Gibbs being 5th and Montgomery being 24th, and Gibbs getting far more carries so far this season than Montgomery, about 30 more carries, while Rico has 98 this season and Chuba has 67. Again, missed 2 games, but you can see the disparity up there in Detroit with the one here. While those guys have been healthy, these guys have not necessarily, as far as Chuba being out the last couple of weeks until returning on Sunday. But you understand where I'm going with this. Both running backs in the top 35 here in Carolina and in Detroit. Looking at EPA per rush, Rico Dowdle is actually number 1 in the NFL among running backs in EPA per rush at 0.15. Chuba is 20th at a minus 0.11. The only other tandem in the top 20 is David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. So that's good company to keep. Now, if you look at just running backs with at least 65 plus carries so far this season and explosive rush percentage, that's runs that are 12 yards and beyond, Rico is 5th among running backs in that category at 11.2, while Chuba is at the bottom of the 33 qualifying backs at 1.5%. And it's not really that surprising. We've watched it. Rico has been by far the more explosive running back so far this season, especially in those wins against Miami and against Dallas. And on his first carry of the game on Sunday, Chuba had 5 carries for 9 yards on opening drive. The very first play that Rico had, 13 yards rushing. So yet another explosive run. But here are 2 stats that are going to make you feel better, I hope, about the situation that Carolina has right now, if you want to call it a situation at all. Looking at non-EPA, that's expected points added based rushing success rate, Rico is 3rd among running backs with 65 plus carries at 54.1%, while Chuba is 8th at 52.2%, both really good at rushing success rate, non-EPA base. If you just want to look at the regular success rate, or you want to look at the EPA base success rate rather, Chuba is 5th among running backs with 65 plus carries at 46.3%, while Rico is 6th at 45.9. Both those guys in the top 10 in non-EPA success rate and in regular success rate as well. Nobody else is up there. Not David Montgomery, not Jahmyr Gibbs, the only running back duo in the NFL to both be in the top 10 in rushing success rate and non-EPA-based rushing success rate so far this season. So according to success rate, the Panthers have the best running back duo in the NFL. And when looking at EPA per rush, and looking at just rushing yardage total, the Panthers have one of the best running back duos in the NFL. So why are people concerned? Why be concerned when the numbers bear it out right there in front of you that you have either the best tandem or the second best tandem in the NFL at this point in time based off of just those stats? I gave you traditional, I gave you advanced analytics. I just think that people got to take a deep breath. The Panthers are 4-3. They've won 3 straight. I understand you're excited about Rico Dowdle and what he's done so far and that the rushing attack has looked good, but they can have success with both. They're going to continue to utilize both. They paid Chuba Hubbard a ton of money last November because they like him. And why I don't like paying running backs is exactly because of the position they're in right now where, look, you have a guy you signed off the street for peanuts who so far is outperforming the guy you paid a ton of money to last season. So do you see where I'm coming from as far as that goes? But my thought overall is it's going to be fine. You just got to give Chuba some more time to get healthy again, to get comfortable with the rotation. I think Rico will continue to perform. I think Chuba will get better in the offensive line as long as there's not any more significant injuries. We'll continue to play at the level they're playing at, if not get better throughout the season. And this will be one of the best rushing offenses, which it already has been through 7 weeks of the season in the NFL, and put Carolina in position to go up against what is going to be a pretty tough schedule in the final 10 weeks of the season. So is there a situation? Is there any concern about the current arrangement? I don't think there is. I think that everybody should be happy about where they're at and look at the numbers I just gave you, or I guess listen to them and realize, like, oh man, Carolina's got it good. And exactly what you were hoping that you were going to get out of maybe Miles Sanders and out of Chuba Hubbard last year, or out of Chuba and Jonathan Brooks in the future, you're getting right now with Rico and Chuba. So enjoy it. I don't think it's a problem. I think they'll figure it out. I think just for once, maybe just trust that the coaching staff knows what they're doing. Okay, please, can we do that? All right. That is going to settle it there with the running back conversation, at least for this week. The Panthers have won 3 straight. They're sitting at 4-3, and people are dreaming of a 10-win season. We'll talk about that here in just a moment on Locked On Panthers. NFL season is back, and honestly, there's nothing better than being in the stadium surrounded by fans cheering on your team. But let's be honest, getting tickets can be a hassle between queues, login screens, and prices jumping at checkout. It's frustrating. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. Game Time is fast, easy, and backed by the Game Time guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included, so the price you see is the price you pay. The app made it super simple. I could see the exact view from my seat before buying. I love zone deals. Pick the section, Game Time picks the seats, and you save big. Honestly, it's faster, cheaper, and less stressful than any other way I've bought tickets. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. Back here on the weekly Wednesday mailbag here on Locked On Panthers. Again, at me or DM me over on Twitter or over on Blue Sky, both at Julian Council to get your questions in for next week's edition of the show. Now over to Kurt and Brian. Kurt saying we don't get a chance very often to get crazy optimistic on this podcast, so let's get crazy optimistic. At 4-3, if the Panthers take care of their 2 games against the Saints, they would just need to go 4-4 in the other 8 games, be 10-7 on the season. So, despite everything that's gone on with this team, do you see a world where they win double-digit games this season? Then Brian asking, do you believe that the Panthers are a playoff caliber team with the current personnel and players that they have? Possibly they could be, and potentially we live in the world, Kurt, where the Panthers are going to go 10-7. Now, my barber, shout out to Angelo, basically every time I see this guy, he asks me, so they're going to win 10 games? Y'all, it could be April 16th, a week before the draft. He's asking me this. It could be February. Season's long over. We're in the dead of winter, and this man is asking me, are they going to win 10 games? I always tell him, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Can we wait to see them play games? And after the first couple of weeks, when I went to get my haircut, I was telling them, not looking too good. But after the last 3 games, and the next time I see them, maybe looking pretty good there. So if there's anyone who's been living in that crazy, optimistic world, it's my guy, Angelo, over at No Grease here in Charlotte. So we'll see what plays out. But right now, when you look at the Panthers' remaining schedule, it's tough. Our favorite website, takeathon.com, has the Panthers with the 4th toughest remaining schedule in the NFL. To date, the Panthers' strength of schedule ranks 30th. So that's 3rd easiest through the first 7 games of the season. Now, Buffalo, who they play on Sunday, has the easiest schedule, and they are sitting at 4-2. So, haha to the Buffalo Bills. But looking at those 8 games that Kurt's talking about, because yes, if the Panthers are going to get to 10 wins this season, now sitting at 4-3, they have to sweep New Orleans. And the other games that they have are against Buffalo on Sunday, at Green Bay, they're at San Francisco, they play the Rams here at home, they play the Seahawks at home as well, they play Tampa twice, and then they're at Atlanta. Getting the NFC West this season, that kind of sucks, man, because that's 3 teams right now sitting at 5-2 atop that division. The only bad team in the division, unfortunately, you lost to in Arizona back in week 2, a game that the Panthers nearly came back and won. But, yeah, not ideal. You're going to get those teams later on in the season. We have no idea what injuries may occur, and I don't hope to see Josh Allen get injured. I don't want to see Jordan Love go down, or Brock Purdy's already been banged up, so it may not even matter because San Francisco just finds a way regardless of who's playing. I don't want to see Matthew Stafford hurt. I don't want to see Sam Darnold hurt. I don't want to see Baker hurt. I don't want to see Michael Penix Jr. hurt either. So hopefully, for just the sake of competition, man, and you'll take it as a Panther fan, obviously, if one of those guys are down, if a key player for any of those teams is out. But looking at that, like, yeah, they're going to have to beat New Orleans, of course, because that gives you 6. Then they're going to have to beat Atlanta, because after that, that feels like, to me, the most winnable game. And I'll tell y'all, just looking at the matchup and we're going to go into it more tomorrow with Joe Marino of Locked On Bills with the crossover brought to you by Prize Picks. And I brought it up even on Monday when looking at the Bills' run defense and the fact that Andy Dalton's going to play this week. I don't care what Dave Canales says about Bryce being day-to-day. I don't think that Schefter and Rapport and those guys are saying he's not going to play just for him to actually play. That would be kind of wild. It would be great, but I don't think it's going to happen. The way the Panthers win this game on Sunday is by running the ball because the Bills can't stop it so far this season. Didn't really matter. It does matter, but I don't think it really is going to be on the quarterback. You're going to have to make the plays necessary, but for the most part, it's going to be up to Chuba and up to Rico and up to the offensive line to move furniture in order for the Panthers to win this game against Buffalo, who struggled last time out against a Falcons team who also can run the ball well, and the Falcons team the Panthers beat the brakes off of a couple of weeks ago. So I could see that being a win. So that means that's 8. Tampa, I don't know. Bucs score a lot of points. They lost Mike Evans probably for the rest of the regular season. If he does come back, well, it would actually be when they play Carolina into the last 3 weeks of the season. Seattle, depending upon what's at stake, do I trust Sam Darnold in week 17 of an NFL season to come out big? No, because he didn't do it last year, and I don't think he'd do it this year. He's playing well. I give a lot of credit to Sam, but that could be a game you get at home. You're going to need to get that game at home. The Rams game, the Rams are my Super Bowl pick this year, so I don't think they're going to beat the Rams. I don't think they beat San Francisco. I don't think they beat Green Bay. They're not good on the road. So if they're going to win a road game the rest of the year, it's probably at Atlanta. So that would mean, so you got 6. If you talk about beating the Saints, you got 7 against Atlanta on the road. You got 8 if they beat Buffalo this Sunday. You're going to have to hold serve at home. You're going to have to beat Seattle. You're going to beat Tampa at home because I just don't see Green Bay being a win right now. I don't see San Francisco being a win right now. And I don't see Tampa being a win. So, yeah, there's a world. My prediction beginning of the season was 8-9. I'd actually written down my notes, 7-10. I got to see it first. I'm seeing it right now. It's going to be difficult for them. They have played a really easy schedule. We even knew going into the season that if the Panthers were going to turn things around from last year and improve upon their win total, they were going to have to get after it in the first 7 weeks of the season. And I would say they probably underachieved. They needed to probably beat Arizona. That was the game that I think, and then how the way Jacksonville's played, like they gave both those games away with the turnovers. So they shot themselves in the foot, and they could be sitting at 5-2 had they not made those mistakes, especially against the Cardinals. And if that were the case, then you'd have a better argument to get there. I just right now have a lot of questions still about the passing game. We'll talk about that later on in the show. I'm still curious how good this defense actually is. I have not seen enough for me to get crazy optimistic, which I guess, surprise, surprise, old Julian's not getting crazy optimistic about the Panthers getting a 10. Would like to see more. But of course, man, you got a game that matters. There's not been a lot of games of consequence here in recent years. And looking at the remaining schedule, the Panthers have a chance to play a lot of them. And I'm excited to see how that all plays out. Let's now go over to Trey, who says, although the Panthers recorded a handful of sacks in the win over the Jets, it still felt like consistent pressure was lacking with Pat Jones second out and Prince Umanmielen getting roughed up during the game. If Carolina can string together a positive stretch leading or heading into the trade deadline, do you think there's a chance front office makes a quick move to boost the pass rush? Now, Princely, he's good. Saw him yesterday on Monday in a locker room. Looks fine. He's going to play on Sunday. Injury report comes out on Wednesday. Don't expect him to be somebody who he could be on it, but I don't think he's going to be in jeopardy of missing the game on Sunday. Looking at the trade deadline, it is on Tuesday, November 4th. So that's 13 days away. The Panthers have games against Buffalo this Sunday and at Green Bay before then. So the Panthers right now, looking just at their pressure numbers, they have a league low PFF pressure percentage of 25.8%. Pro Football Reference, who had them at 8.4% pressure percentage last week heading to that game against New York, has bumped them up 5 percentage points to 13.4% and now 31st in the league. They're 25th in sack percentage. They're tied 26th with 11 sacks, thanks to the 6-sack effort on Sunday. And they are 27th in ESPN's pass rush win rate. So no one would argue that this is a good pass rush. And I don't find this to be particularly surprising at this point in time. I talked about back in the summer what my expectations were for each unit defensively, from the line of scrimmage to linebackers to the pass rush, secondary, all that. And I did not expect this to be a good pass rush. I thought that maybe be slightly improved as Princely and as Nick Scourton come along throughout the season, come of age in the NFL. I just never felt like it was going to be great because I just don't see the guys out there on the roster being dudes at this stage of their career or ever being dudes. And that included Pat Jones, who did make that key sack there to ice that game against Miami a couple of weeks ago. And it sucks that he's not out there for the rest of the season because I did think that clearly, just looking at his pressure percentages, he had the best of the outside linebackers, that he was going to be a key player for them the rest of the way. But he's not going to be around. That Diana Rossini of The Athletic, she puts out an article every Saturday about what she's hearing. And she was talking about the trade deadline last Saturday. She mentioned that the Dolphins, who are awful, done. No chance the rest of the season. They're getting a lot of calls on pass rushers, in particular Bradley Chubb, former NC State alum, and Jalen Phillips. The Jets also are getting calls on defensive end Jermaine Johnson, as they also are horrid as they're 0-7. We just saw how bad they are. Mike Kay of the Charlotte Observer put it out last week that he had made calls around the league and that a lot of teams are looking for pass rushers because everybody's looking for a pass rusher at all times. It makes sense because you look at the Eagles, who their pass rush is pretty damn bad after letting guys like Josh Sweat go and Milton Williams go during free agency back in March. They brought back Brandon Graham, and he's out of retirement, y'all. So I don't know what he's going to give to them, but that would be a team that certainly be looking for a pass rush. But again, like the Eagles won the Super Bowl because of their pass rush. So for Carolina to get to 10 wins, they're going to need to improve their pass rush because they cannot allow guys like Josh Allen to sit back there all day, Jordan Love to sit back there all day, Brock Purdy, even Sam Darnold, but Matthew Stafford, Baker Mayfield, can't let them sit back there. They'll pick you apart. So I don't know. I texted somebody who would know and would speak to a lot of people and asked them, hey, got a lot of people hitting me up about Panthers potentially being buyers at the deadline. Are you hearing anything? And they sent to me, unclear. So unclear whether the Panthers will be buyers. Mike Kay saying that there's going to be competition to get some of the guys that have been mentioned by Diana Rossini and across the league as pass rushers. And this person I talked to told me it's unclear whether Carolina will be a buyer at the deadline, in particular for maybe a pass rusher. So we'll see how that plays out. If I'm going to guess, I'm going to say no. I'm going to say that they're going to stick with the two young guys. They're going to stick also there with DJ Wonnum. And maybe a guy like Boogie Basham, who has been on NFL active rosters, maybe he gets signed to the active roster after having a pretty impressive performance just based off of PFF numbers on Sunday against the Jets. I think they're going to roll with those guys and just see what they can get out of them. I think that's what it's going to be. So I would not at least expect that because every single trade article I've seen so far, not a damn one of them has mentioned Carolina. And when I'm asking this one person who pretty to know, they're telling me unclear, doesn't seem to be the case, or maybe Dan Morgan's keeping it under wraps. I wouldn't expect it to happen. So just hope he gets better. And that Sunday was a precursor to the rest of the season. We'll take one more quick pause here and then come back and answer the rest of your weekly Wednesday mailbag questions.
I'm Cody Rourke from Locked On Broncos, and this episode is brought to you by Peloton. Peloton is shaping the future of fitness with the brand new Peloton Cross-Training Tread Plus, powered by Peloton IQ. This is Peloton's most advanced equipment yet, giving you real-time guidance and endless ways to move, whether you're running, lifting, or you're cross-training with your favorite instructors like Alex Toussaint. It's training reimagined to make your workout more personal. Peloton is built for breakthroughs with features that help you plan, stay motivated, and hit peak performance. You can let yourself run, lift, flex, and go while Peloton handles all the rest. Plus, Peloton IQ provides real-time strength coaching, tracking your progress and suggesting weights that challenge you so you can get stronger. Plus, the new movement tracking camera, it counts your reps and corrects your form in real time, making sure every rep is safer and smarter. So let yourself run, lift, flex, push, and go. Explore the new Peloton Cross-Training Tread Plus at onepeloton.com.
The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss right now. New customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love how FanDuel gives me so many ways to play. I've built parlays, tried player props, and even follow the live lines during games. It makes watching football even more exciting when you've got a little something riding on the action, whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats. FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. A few more questions here on this weekly Wednesday mailbag edition of Locked On Panthers. Over now to Ben, who asks, is the problem on offense play calling? It seems like Dave Canales is playing conservative football from the first snap to portray as the good guy instead of being ruthless and racking up the score against bad teams like they should have against the Jets. I don't think that Dave is being nice and being the good guy, as you say, and keeping teams in the game. I don't think that's his preference. I think his preference would be to dominate everybody and to win games comfortably. So I don't think that he is just being conservative because, hey, let's let New York feel good about themselves and hang around and make this somewhat entertaining, even though there's nothing entertaining about that game outside of the result, of course, if you're a Panthers fan. But looking at it, I think there's some issues mainly, I think, in the passing game that may be leading to some of the conservative play calling and just some of the issues that they've had so far. And there's been times like you look at the third down call that was there to start the second quarter where the Panthers were right around midfield out of New York, and they decide to have Chuba and Rico back there at the same time, and it's a play action. It's an incomplete pass. And on 4th and 1, Rico or Chuba, I forget who it was, they get stonewalled and it's turnover on downs that led to 3 points. I didn't love that sequence. There's been other sequences that I haven't loved, that I don't like that every single time they're in 2 minute that Dave runs the ball in 1st and 10. Now it worked that one time when Chuba was out there, I think against Miami. Other than that, haven't had a ton of success in that area, and they haven't really done a great job game management wise. So yeah, there are certainly things to look at with Dave Canales and wonder, is this the right call for the situation? But he knows better than I certainly do, and that you do as well. But looking at it, I wonder if the quarterback is giving enough for him to be able to call what he wants to call. And I'm not trying to put this all on Bryce, certainly, because Bryce has obviously made the plays when needed in the fourth quarter comebacks and wins against Miami and against Dallas. But if you just look at just some of the numbers so far this season, they haven't been that impressive. If you look at his air yards per attempt, he's 30th in the NFL at 6.5 yards per attempt. Jared Goff, though, is right above him at 6.6. So maybe it's not that concerning, but it does show you that he's not really throwing the ball downfield that much, which has been a common complaint from Panther fans, whether it was Frank Reich, Thomas Brown, now Dave Canales calling plays throughout Bryce Young's tenure here in Carolina. Russell Wilson and Sam Darnold, by the way, lead the league in air yards per attempt. So maybe that's not a stat to be that concerned about, but certainly demonstrates that he ain't really throwing the ball downfield that much. Now, I did see Jonathan Jones, CBS Sports, tweeting out about the Jets quarterback situation on Tuesday and mentioned that Justin Fields has a negative 0.09 EPA per drop back this season. This number was familiar to me because I was actually looking at the EPA per drop back numbers on Monday when putting together some notes for this show and another show. And I noticed that who else also has a negative 0.09 EPA per dropback is Bryce Young. Bryce Young, Justin Fields, not the same guy. Understand all of that. But that was alarming to see. So diving in deeper at some of the numbers, looking at EPA per play, Bryce Young is actually better. He's at a negative 0.03. That ranks 21st among qualifying quarterbacks. His pass rating QBR both 25th among qualifying quarterbacks. Bryce has a passing success rate of 44.3. That is 19th in the NFL. That's right between CJ Stroud and Kyler Murray, to give you some idea of where he's at among other quarterbacks. And he's below league average, which is 45.8. His explosive play percentage or pass percentage, rather, explosive pass percentage is 9.8%. That is 28th in the NFL. So you look at those numbers, he's been one of the bottom third quarterbacks in the league right now, and has certainly benefited in both of those wins against Miami and against Dallas in a rushing attack that was superb. He did make the plays when needed. So give him credit, and you like that you have a quarterback who's able to do that. But it would also be nice if you have a quarterback who could keep you on schedule and who could be more efficient and, I guess, get the trust from the play caller, who is also the head coach, and Dave Canales, to be able to throw the ball downfield more and open up some things. So I think it might be a little conservative because he doesn't have a full trust in Bryce, and Bryce has had the turnovers this season, but also when maybe given the opportunities, Bryce hasn't really put up that many numbers. So you look at just the normal stats, you look at some of the advanced stats, he hasn't played that great just looking at those. And even with the eye test, aside from making those plays when it mattered in that game against Arizona, it hasn't been the most impressive season so far. So we'll see once he comes back. Won't be this weekend, it doesn't look like. Maybe next weekend at Green Bay. We'll see if he can improve upon what he's done so far this season, and if maybe that opens up things. I'm also very, very curious to see how Andy Dalton has plays called for him on Sunday, and then how the offense, just the passing game in general, overall looks like with Andy Dalton. Do more guys get involved? We saw Xavier Legette be his primary target on Sunday when he came in at the end of that game. Does T-Mac get more involved? Jimmy Horn, Jalen Coker, who did not have a reception on Sunday. Those are things I'm going to be looking out for. So I don't think Dave's just been a good guy and failing to be ruthless because he wants to allow the other team to hang around. I think there's some trust issues and some execution issues that have been there overall in the passing game that is holding them back at this point in time as far as play calling goes. And that's not to excuse some of the clear mistakes that he's made so far this season. Final question comes from Jake saying, I know that Derrick Brown is a Pro Bowler and broke an NFL record 2 seasons ago, but it feels like he's having a significantly better season. He is clearly the Panthers' best overall player with the added pass rush opportunities, is playing like a top 3 defensive tackle in the NFL. Would love your thoughts. Well, according to PFF, and I'll say this, I gave you PFF numbers on Derrick Brown yesterday. This damn website, man, is the worst. It changes every single week. Like sometimes you go on a player's page and it'll give you like a fresh new look where it shows you what their overall grade is and their pass rush grade and all this. And it will show you every single defensive tackle. I go up there today. It doesn't show me any of that. And it shows me completely different numbers. Like if you go where it says player grades and you just click on that category and it only has guys who meet the snap minimum, the numbers will be different there than when you go and click on the player's actual page every other day. So PFF, it kind of sucks, but we'll use it in this situation because there's not many other places. Like we've been using True Media a lot on this show. That's where EPA and success rate and a lot of numbers that we've had filtered out have come from recently. So happy to have that partnership now unlocked on. And I've kind of tried to veer away from PFF as much as I can because I don't know what I'm going to get from that site as the hour turns. But looking at it, yeah, DB's been great. He, according, at least for today, because it could change in the next 5 minutes, he has an 89.6 overall grade. That is tied second among interior defensive linemen so far this season. He has an 80.9 pass rush grade. That is sixth. And an 81.9 run defense grade. That is fourth. His 26 tackles are tied for seventh among defensive linemen. Now, he's only played 276 snaps so far this season. He has 12 pressures, 3 sacks. If you look at 2 years ago, rather, in 2023, through 7 games, he had 37 tackles, so 11 more, and he had 11 pressures, so 1 less and only 1 sack. So he has definitely been so much better when getting after the passer this season. His havoc rate this year, so that's forced fumbles, tackles for loss, sacks, interceptions, all kind of negative plays you can make on defense. It's 8th best among defensive linemen so far this season at 4%, which does not sound like a lot, but 4% of the time, that's not that bad. His havoc rate a couple years ago was at 1.1%, which was not top 10 among defensive linemen, and he played 354 snaps 2 years ago up to this point, compared to 276 snaps again this season. So he's played less snaps, been more efficient, been wreaking havoc. He has been better. And I think the fact that he's not had to play every single snap of the game and that you have guys like Ashawn Robinson, Bobby Brown III, and Turk Wharton around, that has made him a better player. A lot of times you can only be as good as what's around you. And I thought DB obviously was great 2 years ago. And we saw last year once he went down just how good of a player he is and how much they were missing him. And since he's gotten back, just check out Brian Baldinger's Twitter account every single week. He's just throwing, or he's showing a video of Derrick Brown ragdolling somebody. He's awesome. Great player, and got to be happy you have him. and he's going to be a big piece in Carolina's success the rest of the 10 games this season and possibly beyond that this year, and of course into the future. And he is worth every single solitary penny that they gave him a couple of years ago. So good to have him back healthy and just tormenting the rest of the NFL through 7 weeks. That's going to wrap up this edition of the Locked On Panthers podcast, part of Locked On Podcast Network, hosted by yours truly, Julian Council. Again, y'all subscribe, follow the show free over on YouTube or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. And be sure to follow me, Julian Council, over on Twitter and Blue Sky at Julian Council, where I'm back with you again on Wednesday next week, answering your weekly Wednesday mailbag questions at me, or DM me over on Twitter and Blue Sky at Julian Council to get your questions in following the game on Sunday against Buffalo. In the meantime, be safe, be happy, be whole. As always, keep pounding. And tomorrow, we will sit down with Joe Marino of Locked On Bills, and you'll never guess, much like everybody from Buffalo, he lives here in Charlotte. We'll do that, break down the game on Sunday against Carolina Panthers and I guess the other hometown team, the Buffalo Bills. All that and more coming up here on Locked On Panthers on Thursday.